And then from there, just line it up with the weep hole just like that. Stuff it in there with your 4-in-1 tool. It's easiest if you use that sharp side here, just because, you know, it just kind of jabs it in there just like that. And then as you guys can see, weep hole is now stuffed. What's up, guys? Got some silhouette action going on with the sunlight right now, but just wanted to do this quick video for you guys. I had asked you guys in Discord specifically if you guys would be interested in more, you know, in the field videos specifically in regards to our exclusion service, since I'm doing a lot of it myself now. And the response was an overwhelming yes from you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. We're gonna get some valuable information, I believe, from this video. If there's anything you guys want me to do videos on specifically, of course, just let me know in the comments and let's get right to it. So first and foremost, a couple things you're going to need is going to be your 3-in-1 tool. These are at Home Depot for about $10 roughly. You're going to want some kind of utility glove. These work great on roofs because they're nice and sticky. Plus with your excluder, which we'll get into here in a second, the stuff is very pokey and it'll actually poke through a lot of gloves. Where with this material here, it doesn't poke through and give you a bunch of splinters and things of that nature. And then, like we were mentioning, you're going to want some excluder. These come in 4 per bag of a 1-inch roll. And this works great for these weep holes like we're about to show you right now on how to seal those guys up. And the easiest way to do this is just simply, you know, take a look at your weep hole. You'll kind of get used to it after you do a couple of them. Take you, you know, depending on the width of that weep hole, go ahead and take yourself, you know, about 1 inch or 2 off. And then from there, just line it up with the weep hole just like that. Stuff it in there with your 4-in-1 tool. It's easiest if you use that sharp side here, just because, you know, it just kind of jabs it in there just like that. And then as you guys can see, weep hole is now stuffed. I wanted to show you guys just an example of the actual company that creates these. The company is Excluder. As here, they literally specialize in rodent and pest control supplies. This is actually a 4-inch by 10-inch roll. This roll works really good where, you know, you're dealing with some bigger gaps that you don't just want to simply caulk or anything. You want to stuff something back behind that so your caulk has something to stick to. And that's what that works really good for. We've only used like 1 roll in a year. Don't really use it too often. Then of course we got our 1-inch here. Like I said, this is what it looks like, just 1 roll. It comes with 4 rolls in each one. Usually on an average home like this home here, you know, it's about a 1,500 to 2,000 square foot home. We're going to use anywhere between usually about 2 bags, maybe 3. It just depends on the home, how big the weep holes are, all that good stuff. Some other tools you absolutely need to have whenever you're doing these exclusion jobs are going to be some metal benders. Now these are 6-inch metal benders. I really like these the best because a lot of the roof returns that we're, you know, on are roughly going to be right around 6 to 8 inches wide. So if we need to bend anything, you know, we can usually get it done with 1 or 2 bends with these. We used, what was it, like 3 or 4-inch ones for the longest, and we still use them from time to time, but these 6-inch ones are really a lifesaver. Then of course you got your tape measure. Any kind of tape measure will do. Got your snips. Actually just got a new pair because I thought I lost these. By the way, pro tip, don't use your snips as a hammer. Found that out the hard way. They still function. I've had these for like 3 years, but yeah, not the smartest thing to do. And then of course it's not bad to have a good bit set, just something to fall back on, because let's be real, bits are made so cheap anymore. And you can get this whole kit here. This is a 50-piece kit. They're like, you know, if you get them on sale, 15 bucks, but they're usually around 20 bucks. And like I said, it's always good to just have a brand new kit on hand. And then of course for on the roof, you got your tool belt where you can put, you know, your snips and your tape measure, your screws, everything that you need, because let's be real, you don't want to keep going up and down a ladder, especially if you're working on a really steep pitch, right? You want to, once you're on the ladder or on the roof, that is, you want to go ahead and stay on the roof. And then speaking of roof, you guys know about the harness. I already did a video on why I like this harness setup here the best. If you want to check that out, I'll try to remember to leave a link at the end of the video or in the description box below. And then of course for our ladder, we do have this for whenever it's just a ladder stabilizer. It works really good on homes specifically that have gutters. That way you're not, you know, putting your ladder up against the gutters, which could harm the gutters, and at the same time is a slippery ride for your ladder as well, of course. And then back there, as you can see, we got our nice little cougar Cougar paws. I actually need to get some replacement pads soon for those finally. But Cougar pads, it's like Velcro on a roof, guys. It makes you feel a lot more safe up there. Safety is everything when it comes to these exclusion jobs. Can't stress that enough. You know, at the end of the day, if you're like me, where you're the sole provider for your home, you want to return home safely. Otherwise, you know, you're putting not just your life in danger, but you're putting your family's livelihood in danger. So don't take the safety thing, you know, as a joke, guys. Always be safe, you know, return home safely. Cannot stress that enough. I wanted to show those of you that aren't in the Discord group or Facebook group these vent covers too that we made. So I asked you guys in Discord, and I'm going to do a follow-up video to this for you guys when I sell my next job on these, because making these vent covers are really not difficult. It only takes about $5 roughly in supplies per actual vent cover, and these are the large ones as well. They're like 27 by 27 by, I believe, 8 or 9 inches on the height side. And if you're wondering what vents are we talking about, if you see those big circle vents up there, those are roof vents. Those are the ones that we tend to cover the most. The other ones don't tend to be so important. They do make little caps for those PVC vents that you see sticking out of the roof. The customer declined that on this one. Like I said, they're usually not super necessary anyways, but those larger vents up there, those big circle looking ones, they oftentimes will allow rat, mice, and squirrel activity. So we're going to go ahead and cage those up with the cages that we made over here. And this is what we call the roof return. This is where our most activity is going to occur when it comes to rats, mice, squirrels, possums, raccoons, all that type of stuff, especially as the home gets older and there's a lot more activity in this area. This customer here is just dealing with field mice, and let me show you what's going on here. So what's actually going on here, since this is actually a new build, what happens is the homes will shift anywhere between ½ an inch to even 3 to 4 inches over the first year or two that the home is built. And as you can see, there's a pretty good sized little gap here. These rodents only need about 1/4 of an inch gap to be able to squeeze through, and that's exactly what these mice are doing. That's why we did things such as covering the weep holes, and now we're going to seal off this roof return as well, which I'm going to show you guys how to measure that, as well as what our finished product is going to look like. To give you guys an idea, we're going to put a piece of metal in here, and then we're probably going to put a piece of metal in on this as well. Sometimes we can get away with just kind of caulking this, but depending on how large that gap ends up being, we may go ahead and make a piece for that outside as well. So I was trying to find a good way to actually show you guys how to measure that piece. We're actually starting with the outside piece, and there wasn't a really good way to do it, just to be honest with you guys. But to keep it short and to the point, the piece max height was about 6.5 inches. So what we did is we went ahead and we cut out the full length that we know we needed. The whole piece needed to be about 13 inches. So we cut out our piece out of our sheet of metal here, and then we know it's about 13 inches high for the actual maximum height to get up underneath of our grip edge that I'll show you guys as I'm trying to put it on and show you guys kind of that finished product. So I went ahead and nipped where I know we have our max height, and then from there I know as the piece goes up into the roof, we have about a 45-degree slope that'll go down, not to the exact corner. That's where a lot of guys will mess up, is they'll do it all the way down to the corner, and then they'll have their piece kind of hanging out. We know it's going to be roughly about ½ an inch to an inch. So usually what I'll do is I'll start out with about 1 inch, and I'll just draw a line using the square right here. I'll draw a straight line with my pencil, and then we'll go ahead and, you know, cut that, and then from there we'll kind of trim it as need be. Every piece is different because, again, it depends on how much that home has settled. If it's only settled, you know, say ½ an inch, then, you know, you can trim a lot off of that. And then, you know, if it's only, you know, if it's actually shifted, let's say 2 or 3 inches, then obviously your piece is going to be a little bit thicker in terms of how much can fit up underneath the roofing. It'll make a lot more sense once you actually see it up there and see the final piece cut, how it's bent, all that good stuff. And like I said, I'll show you guys what it looks like. I made a rookie mistake. I don't know if it was because I was making this video for you guys and it threw me off or what, but when you make your piece, by the way, you need to take into account how much bend you're actually going to bend. So say, for example, we needed 13 inches, or I think it was 6.5 that we were needing on the height. Say, you know, okay, we're going to have roughly 1 inch with our bend. You need to add that inch. Otherwise, when you stick your piece in there, it's going to look kind of funky. It would still work technically, but of course, you know, we're all about craftsmanship here. We want it to not just function, but we want it to look pretty good as well. So we want it to stick up in there uniformly. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here to compare, you know, this piece, which is just cut too short versus our piece that's going to fit the right way. So this is the piece that's actually fitting in the right way, how it kind of looks once you get done. As you can see, we got a color that matches pretty spot on, which is very good for it to actually match the fascia pretty good, because usually, you know, we have to go off of gutters. This home doesn't have gutters, so we just kind of color matched it the best we could to the fascia board. And as you see, it looks pretty good. Obviously, of course, we still have to screw it down and whatnot, but I want to show you kind of what this looks like compared to what this looks like. See any difference here? If not, pay attention with me here. So as you can see, this piece right here, it's flipping out right there. Now, technically, we could put a screw in there and call it good. However, what else do you see? It doesn't come down all the way close to the end of where this gap is. Now, that's not necessarily a big issue. That's more of a cosmetic thing than anything, but we like it to at least come very, very, very close to the end, just because, again, we don't want it just to function, but we want it to actually look pretty uniform with the house as well. So, you know, maybe we can reuse this piece somewhere else. Always keep these pieces. Don't just pitch them. You can always use them for something else. Let's go ahead and get the right piece in and move on to the next one. I want to give you a quick little update. We got our freezer board piece in. We got it caulked up. Of course, you want to caulk over your screw heads. That way you can, you know, make sure that your customer won't experience any leaks afterwards. We went ahead and also filled in this very, very upper corner. I don't know if you guys can see the caulking there just a little bit. Just wanted to give us some extra protection in case if this home shifts anymore, since it is a new build. Then here's a look at our final inner piece on the soffit. That one's very straightforward, guys. Just cut yourself a square, measure the width of what your piece needs to be. Make sure you make it long enough to where you can actually, you know, screw it in and not have your screws going all over the freaking place. And then, of course, if there's any gappage there afterwards, go ahead and fill it in with caulking. That caulking will look a lot cleaner once it dries up here over the next day or so. Now, these roof returns here can be a little tricky just because look at our setup here. We don't really got a whole lot of room to work here, so what I'm probably going to do is actually hop on the roof to address this roof return. I don't know if you guys can tell with the sunlight, but the fascia board is actually smack dab right up against it. So for that, what we'll do is we'll just caulk it. We'll probably still make a piece for the inside there where that soffit is, just because we know that the home's going to continue to shift and that will get wider. So we're going to go ahead and make a piece for that. Fill in the caulking there on that little freezer board that's right up against the soffit, and then these two roof returns will be good to go. I know it's a little bit windy up here, but I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you actually have your harness mounted properly. Main thing is you want to make sure that you're hitting a stud, or I think they call them rafters, whatever the roofing term may be. You know, you just beat around like you do whenever you're filling out for termites. You know, you're filling for a stud, right? So when you hear hollowness, obviously don't mount it there, right? But whenever you feel that you're hitting some wood, then you know you're obviously good to go ahead and mount there. You want to make sure, of course, that you don't give yourself too much slack. You want to make sure that if you fall, you're obviously going to stop ideally before you know, you fall off the edge, right? This pitch is actually pretty light. This is only a 6 pitch. This is the lightest pitch that I ever work on. We usually work on 8, 10s, and 12s. Just put it up here more so to kind of show you guys what it looks like. I don't necessarily need it, but as you see, I'm still strapped up and whatnot, so, you know, just always be safe. You know, it's worth the extra 5 minutes at the end of the day. I wanted to show you guys, again, I know it's windy out here, but I wanted to show you guys kind of what the vents look like once you get them covered. These are actually the larger vents. We do smaller vents as well. Now, you're probably looking at that one going, what's going on there? Well, these actually aren't mounted yet. I had these pre-made over the weekend, and I just threw them up here just a second ago. I'm actually about to make some brackets to actually mount them down, because obviously you can't just leave them up here loosey-goosey like this, right? So I'm gonna make some brackets for them, put them on here, mount these guys down, show you all what that looks like all completed, and then we're in the home stretch of wrapping this one up. All right, this is what our final products are looking like. Give you guys a quick little tour. We had 4 vents today. Wanted to show you guys kind of how they look once you have them all mounted up on here. Like I said, I'm going to do an actual video for you guys about how we make these and whatnot. I'll give you guys a quick little rundown here. So, hit my watch and it stopped the video for y'all for some reason. But as we discussed, you know, these vents for the cage, we measured out 27 by 27. And then on the height, we did roughly 8 inches. I forget if it was like 7 to 9, somewhere around 8 inches. And then, like I said, in terms of actually mounting these guys on here, Now, I should preface this with, we're still not finished. We have to caulk over these screws. I actually bought some screws that are designed to, you know, seal that off to where you don't even need to caulk it down. But surprise, surprise, I left them at home this morning in the garage. So what we did is we have just our usual screws with a washer. And then, like I said, we're just going to caulk over top of these with some roofing tar. That way, you know, we don't have to worry about leaks or anything like that in the future. But like I said, you know, just to give you guys a quick and easy, you know, 30-second rundown here, we measure out all these different pieces. Obviously, the side pieces, they're all going to be the same. Once you have one, you can just boom, 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 knock them all out. Average vent takes us, depending on, you know, if it's been a while since I've done a vent or not, it takes anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes per vent to build them. We were using hog rings for the longest, but I decided recently to actually switch to these outdoor UV resistant zip ties. I find that they look a lot better, you know, when we're actually looking at it here kind of zoomed out. You can see you don't see any type of like rings or anything really, you know, unless if you look really closely. Obviously, you know, look at the one in the far distance, you can't even tell that there's like anything really holding it together, right? It looks like just one nice smooth piece, where with our hog rings it kind of reflected and stuck out like a sore thumb a little bit. Obviously, when you get up close like this, you can see where all of our little zip ties are cut off and things like that. But from the distance, from the ground, all of that, it actually looks really, really slick. I had one customer right off the bat say, you know, that looks amazing. So yeah, we're going to stick with doing that. It does make it take slightly longer. I don't know. In my opinion, it actually goes quicker than using the hog ring tool, because, you know, using the hog ring tool, it jams up on you and everything else. So, you know, I think it takes about the same amount of time, just takes a little bit more tedious work when you're using zip ties versus the hog ring. But yeah, like I said, you know, we had 4 of these today and on these vents, and I need to show you guys the one last roof return that we sealed up. And then, yeah, we just got to seal up the garage door real quick on the corners, and then we'll be out of here. Because I just know we're going to have someone in the comments mention sealing up the holes. As always, use some good old roofing tar to seal up those holes. Same thing with our screws and washers. We went in and just use the roofing tar. Sometimes, I mean, you can go ahead and get away with using your clear caulking, but, you know, why not just make it all uniform at the end of the day, right? But, yeah, don't forget that, otherwise the Karens will be on you. Wanted to give you guys a look at that last roof return up there we were looking at earlier. Like I said, all we needed was an inside piece that you guys can probably see way up there with our 1 screw. Well, we have 4 screws in it, obviously, but 2 are caulked up, and the other 2 are, of course, on the upside, so we don't have to worry about that. But you see how we just had that very, very paper thin crack. We went ahead and caulked that, and if you look deep in that corner, I actually found 1 or 2 little spots up against the house that we just needed to caulk more than anything. Once it dries, it always looks 1,000 times better. I always hate how messy it kind of looks whenever you're first putting it down. We try to make it look the best we can. And then I actually noticed there was a spot along this freezer board here. You can see I went ahead and caulked up the entire thing. We usually don't do this on a lot of homes, but since I know this home is going to shift a lot more over the next couple years, just wanted to get ahead of any potential issues with gaps forming and things like that. I almost forgot to mention, AC lines tend to be a very hot spot in terms of potential entry points for us in the Texas area. Probably in a lot more than just Texas, but that's where I am, of course. And you know, it's always a tight spot. It's always hard to formulate anything. Main thing is just wrap that piece as much as you can around the AC line. We usually cut our piece for more than what we know we need, and then we just start splitting it, you know, around that line, trim it as we need to, and then of course just mount it up so nothing will be able to rip it apart or anything like that. And if for some reason they do, then, you know, our customers get a warranty on the work, so there's no worries for them either ultimately. And then one last potential entry is always the corners of these garages with how they cut this little 45-degree angle out. Now I noticed that this door was already rubbing along the wood on the other side specifically, so we didn't want to cause any potential issues with the garage door. So usually when we can, we will actually cut a piece of metal and mount it just to kind of cover that hole up, and then do a little bit of caulking. But you know, every job is different ultimately, so what we did was we kind of caulked it up well. There's a little tactic to this to allow that caulking to actually stay and not just, you know, look like a total mess or anything like that. Sometimes you even have to use some of that excluder to give it something to stick to, but this one was working very well today, so it happened to work out and it looks pretty good, and ultimately it's going to keep the rodents from coming in. One thing I forgot to mention real quick about our exclusion service, when it comes to like rats and mice, a lot of times what we will actually do is go ahead and set a couple or a few snap traps inside of the attic as well. That way, if for some reason something were to be trapped inside the home during the service, which almost never happens, but that way, if it were to happen, you know, we'll go ahead and get those caught and removed. We'll tell the customer where those traps are to check them after about a week or so, especially if they're hearing noises, definitely check them and just kind of keep us updated over that next week. From there, we never really experience any issues, but if we do, our customers, like I said, have a warranty going forward where, you know, if for some reason activity persists, then definitely just let us know. The warranty doesn't mean that literally, hey, you're never going to have activity. The warranty specifically states that, you know, the warranty covers damages done to our work specifically. But if for some reason activity does persist, then we'll go ahead and at least work with the customer, of course. But, you know, there's a fine line between working with the customer versus just doing a lot of stuff for free, quote unquote, that you're not really obligated to. That's, you know, for you to decide as the owner what you're going to cover and what you're not going to cover. The main thing is just be consistent with what you do and what you don't. That way, whenever you have employees, managers, etc. in the future, the standard has been set from day one. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I tried to, you know, kind of change it up a little bit. Hopefully, you know, with time and, you know, with adding more tools to the production set of the YouTube channel, I'll be able to do kind of more of these like in the field tutorials, videos, day in the life, whatever you all want to refer to it as. I know, like I said, that a lot of you guys want to see videos specifically of how we go about like building those rodent-proof cages and, you know, even doing things like building the roof returns. I tried to at least walk you guys through the best I could, you know, with the equipment that I had. I just had a little thing strapped to my chest to kind of hold my phone for me, but I noticed when I was trying to shoot videos of how to like measure and cut, you know, the roof return metal, for example, nothing was really like lining up. I was having to hold everything awkwardly so you guys could see it, and it was just really slowing me down, to be honest. So hopefully in the future I'll get like maybe, you know, a little tripod. I have a really big tripod, but I want something a little bit smaller that I could, you know, like set up in the truck, you know, in the back of the truck to kind of, you know, not have my phone just in my way and have it maybe like over my shoulder or something. Like I said, just something that maybe in the future, you know, we'll go ahead and add in. That way, you know, we can do a lot more like tutorial videos to show you guys kind of how you can just, you know, all about vertical integration, right? How you can just add more services, add more different revenue streams to your business that will just ultimately make your business more profitable at the end of the day. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, just do me a favor, smash the thumbs up button. It helps the video and helps the channel big time, helps people that are similar to you, you know, find the channel and find my videos and all that stuff. And feel free to share it with somebody too if you think it'll benefit them. And if you're not already subscribed, do me a favor and smash the subscribe button below. Hit the bell icon, you know the drill. That way you won't miss any of our live streams, videos, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one.